Maybe nobody is good. Maybe dishonesty and immorality come not from a failing of the soul, but from an inherent weakness in the hearts of men. But in spite of this, is there hope? Is there a trust that can be reached between people? A real honesty? Or is it all hopeless? These questions, these musings, this is the canvas upon which Rashomon is painted. A 1950 film directed by Akira Kurosawa, Rashomon is a story within a story within a story. Three men gather at the Rashomon gate during a storm. They recount recent events related to a crime, all containing different pieces of the puzzle. A husband and wife were traveling in a forest. A bandit is accused of raping the woman and murdering the man. Through the framing device of the three men, the testimony of the wife, husband, and bandit, and the flashback sequences from the memories of all involved, we, the audience, find ourselves lost in subjective reality, witnessing only what the characters say they remember. But we'll get to that later. First, some background. Rashomon has been highly influential to pop culture.
Come on, Homer. Japan will be fun. You like Rashomon?
That's not how I remember it.
How to use the multiple perspective flashbacks changes depending on which movie or which show wants to use this broad concept, popularized by Rashomon. In this episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, Commander Riker is accused of a crime. But rather than watch a visual representation of subjective memories, we watch holodeck reenactments of what allegedly occurred. Every interpretation is a little off, and this may have been Star Trek's commentary on the criminal justice system and the unreliability of eyewitness testimony. This episode of Batman the Animated Series actually changes the format slightly, as each person who flashes back shows the audience an accurate portrayal of what happened visually, but their narration differs.
In spite of the fire, I had everything under control. And then Batman showed up and bungled everything. Lucky I was there to save his butt.
That's not to say that Rashomon invented the concept of unreliable narrator. It has existed in literature for a long time, allowing the reader to wonder about the subjectivity of human thought, how others lie to us, and most importantly of all, how we lie to ourselves. Film noir holds some examples too, but to make a long story short, Rashomon popularized an idea that has proliferated from 1950 to today. It's an excellent framework for any story, and although it's the thing people remember most about the film, Rashomon is actually brilliant for a lot of reasons. Let's talk about lighting in film. There's an old joke. How long does it take for a cinematographer to smoke a cigarette? The same as anyone, but he takes 2 hours to light it. Lighting a scene isn't as simple as turning on a light bulb. Everything has to be staged perfectly, working within the blocking of the scene, or else the shot doesn't look good. Natural light sometimes works the best, but even then you have to worry about shadows. The film had camera shots that were directly in the sun, but even then, that didn't satisfy Kurosawa. He used a mirror to reflect the natural light. The result was a stronger sunlight that passed through the leaves and the branches. But the light isn't just light. It's a visual representation of the two major conflicts of the film, whether or not there are good people, and whether or not we can trust one another. The lighting is used two ways. First, it casts a shadow of doubt. Everything that is said in the flashbacks could be wrong. We are only seeing what the eyewitnesses say they saw through an overcast of clouds, through obscuring branches, through a blinding light. Second, the light and shadow are symbols of the eternal conflict between a moral light and dark. Take this scene. The wife is being sexually assaulted by the bandit. She searches for light, for hope, but finds it blocked by branches, blurred out of vision. Only then does she give up. Her light went out. Rashomon uses a lot of sharp cuts to switch from present to past, like this one.
3日前だ。わしは山へ焚き木を切りに行った。
In doing this, instead of, say, a dissolve with harp music, we feel more grounded. We are being tricked. We are being told this is real, only to find out we may have been wrong later in the film. Point of view shots emphasize this idea in the minds of the audience. The testimony is given to some unseen legal official, but we never see this person. We don't even hear the voice. We, as the audience, get the impression that the witnesses are speaking directly to us, that we are responsible for what happens to the accused. Objects having representative qualities reoccurs in the film. The Gate of Rashomon is where three characters debate what really happened to the husband and wife. The Gate is the search for truth. It is civilization. It is a waning light, falling apart. The most cynical character even tears down a piece of it, symbolically giving in to the darkness, the lack of honesty, the lack of good in the world. It could be said that the pillars that hold up the Rashomon Gate are actually moral pillars. Towards the end of the film, after a character recounts possibly the worst flashback of them all, we see this diagonal plank. Everything is skewed. The pillars are falling. Even the three men who speculate on the crime have representative roles: morality, immorality, and the space between them. Actually, the use of threes, or triangles, reoccurs in the film. The crime has three people involved: the bandit, the husband, and the wife. Also, there are only three locations: the forest, the courtyard, and Rashomon Gate. The rain in this scene is actually artificial, and the color is actually a result of using black ink in the rain machine. Clear water didn't show up well on camera. Water in film can symbolically mean a lot of things. It can be cleansing and redemptive, but in Rashomon, it's almost apocalyptic. In the film, characters talk about there being natural disasters and a corruption of the land. It's no coincidence that when there is suddenly a ray of hope, a good deed, the rain begins to subside. Some have posited that the dire nature of the film may have been influenced by Japan's encounter with atomic weapons only a few years prior, although it should be noted that if that played any role, it was not part of the original story, In a Grove, that was adapted for this film. In Rashomon, characters speculate on the state of humanity and put forth two frightening philosophical statements. In this scene, a character says that men are weak, and because of this, they lie to each other and even to themselves. Kurosawa has spoken about what he believes to be the inherent weakness of mankind. It seems to be a recurring theme in his films, creating a cohesive oeuvre. We like to think of truth as being absolute, this easily knowable thing that we all agree on, but everyone brings their own unconscious bias and prejudice into everything. We all do it. We are never seeing objective reality. We are seeing our brains interpret stimuli and using our flawed, fragmented memory. Even if we try to always be honest, we don't really always know what the truth is.
一体正しい人間なんているのか。みんな自分でそう思ってるだけじゃねえのか。
The film proposes this question: what if there are no good people? It's not something I subscribe to personally, but it's not something that can be dismissed either. Maybe every action in one form or another is self-serving, even if what you are serving is your desire to assuage your guilt. The problem with that line of thinking is that you can't build a society on it. A philosophy isn't much if it can't be put into action. Maybe there are no good people. Okay, fine. Then what? When I hear someone say that nothing has any value, I think, well, you're still living. You value existence. Therefore, on some level, you admit existence itself has value. In the end, this cynicism, this nihilism, is disproved when a man decides to raise an abandoned child. A selfless act. One could argue that he's only doing this out of guilt for originally not wanting to testify about what he saw, but his guilt alone disproves the idea that there are no good men as well. So long as there is conscious thought in the universe that chooses to live, we are tacitly admitting to the value of existence, and if we value existence, we have to protect it. Anyway, trying to piece together what really happened is pointless because the film can claim no true explanation based on its own framework. Everything we are seeing is in the mind of the witness. We are never watching objective reality during the flashbacks. We are seeing subjective reality, memories, and lies. Only these scenes at the gate are objective reality. Well, outside the artifice of film, of course. We could guess that the final interpretation is the most likely one, and that's sensible enough, but the film purposefully makes any concrete explanation impossible. Any certainty is uncertain. Kurosawa once said that Rashomon is a reflection of life, and that life does not have a clear meaning.